Right, guys, Brentford have just beaten Fulham by 3-2, and I think the scoreline for Brentford is actually slightly disappointing based on how they played. I think that it's the same scoreline. In fact, it's the same results as the game earlier on in the season between these two teams, 3-2 to the home team. Fulham were at home that game. But that game felt as though it was a much closer game. It was won by a late Mitrovic goal, if I remember correctly. But this game, it was that there was clearly one side better than the other tonight, and that was Brentford. The 3 goals that they scored, I think, were 3 goals that you sort of associate with Brentford scoring. So the first one it comes from a set piece, and it's Brentford set up for a corner, and they showed this at half time actually. All 10 men are within are beyond the penalty spot in the Fulham box, which is really bizarre because you very rarely see teams push all players up into the box if it's not the 90th minute and they need a goal. This is what I don't know how many minutes into the game. I would imagine about 15 minutes into the game, but then they do this thing where they all sort of disperse and get into position, and it just seems to confuse Fulham. The ball comes out to the edge of the box. Aaron Hickey does really well to play it into Ethan Pinnock, and yeah, there's a bit of luck to it. It does take a huge deflection off Tim Ream, and I think it might have even gone down as a Tim Ream own goal. Probably was, to be honest, but yeah, sent it to the other side of the goal, and that made it 1-0, and that came after Brentford had numerous opportunities actually to take the lead, and they did come close to scoring on 4 other occasions in the first half. Brian Mbeumo probably being free of them. The first one he's got to score. It's an easy chance really, but it just shows to me a player who is maybe slightly lacking in confidence, or not even confidence, just confidence in front of goal, because I think Mbeumo's all-round game recently, and pretty much ever since Brentford have been promoted, has been really good from what I've seen. It's just his finishing lets him down sometimes, and it might be the reason why his goal-scoring numbers aren't so impressive. He's still a player who manages to get 5 or 6 goals a season for Brentford, but I think the next step for Mbeumo is probably to get it to 9 or 10. And then maybe then he would get a bit more focus in this Brentford forward line, because I know Ivan Toney is very much the main man, and Mbeumo's sort of seen as the second part to the forward line. So I think that's Mbeumo's next target, to sort of put himself in the spotlight as well as Toney. Well, Toney's sort of in the spotlight for the wrong reasons at the minute, but I mean he's a brilliant player by his own right, obviously. But yeah, and Mbeumo also had a good opportunity 2 minutes after that. It was saved by Rare, and then somehow in the first half there were 3 free kicks that hit the post. The first coming from Mbeumo, he shaves the post. Then Toney had one. It was a superb effort. It's sort of the angle of the crossbar, the outside of it would have been a brilliant strike. I think he scored a similar free kick against Leeds earlier on in the season in a 5-2 win, if I remember correctly. He scored a hat-trick that game, Ivan Toney. And then Fulham at the other end, after going pretty much the entire half with out-attacking, well, it felt like that anyway, that they got a free kick in a good area. Pereira takes it and hits the inside the post, and it falls to Manor Solomon. I mean, pretty much everything seems to be falling for him lately, and yeah, he just has to head it into the empty net and does so. And that's what, five games in a row now he's scored in all competitions, 4 in the Prem, and he scored against Leeds in the FA Cup last week. So yeah, he's on an incredible run of form at the moment, Manor Solomon, and yeah, that levelled it. And then second half, I just thought Marco Silva might have, sort of addressed the fact that Fulham were second best in the first half, and I thought Fulham might come out with a bit more, I don't know, conviction and purpose in the second half. But they just didn't, to tell the truth. And one of the players who they were obviously missing this game was João Palhinha in midfield. For me, he's one of the signings of the season. He's been superb and has been a big part in Fulham's success this year. And his replacement in the team for tonight, Sasa Lukic, I think it might be his first or second start for Fulham in the league. He struggled a bit, I think that's fair to say. They definitely missed having Paulinho in midfield alongside Harrison Reed. And Lukic, I thought, was actually quite lucky to stay on the pitch because he gave away the free kick for Ivan Toney's effort that hit the post. And also, in injury time, after he actually took a bit of a bad whack to the face from Ivan Toney in a tackle. It was just one of them where it was, I think that there wasn't anything that you could avoid it as two players trying to win the ball. But Lukic then takes down his man. I think it was Johan Visser who's on the counter-attack, and for me it's got to be a second yellow. Anthony Taylor seemed to claim that he was trying to play the ball, but even if he is, you're stopping a counter-attack on the halfway line. It's the definition of a yellow card. Whether if he's not already on a yellow, he's getting a yellow there. So for me, it's a second yellow and a red, I think. But yeah, second half, Brentford they continued the forward momentum that they had in the first half. Won an early penalty. I must admit, I think I criticised Anthony Taylor for not giving Sasa Lukic the red cards in the first half, but I think I give him credit for this one because it didn't even take VAR to notice this, and there weren't many Brentford fans in the stadium claiming for it. I didn't see it at the time, but Anthony Taylor did well to notice it. I can't remember who it was now who was clipped. I think it was Norgard who did get kicked by Issa Diop, and there wasn't loads of contact, but it's one of them where Diop's fully tried to smash it, whereas Norgard sort of pipped in front of him and managed to take the ball off his foot. And yeah, it is a penalty in the rules, and you know, Ivan Toney steps up to take it. You put your house on him, wouldn't you? It's scored 10 out of 10 goals, 10 out of 10 penalties in the Premier League. I think 22 out of 22 in all competitions for Brentford. It's just an incredible record, 100%. So yeah, I mean, I think he's only one off the 2 goals off breaking the best Premier League penalty taking record, because obviously it would go down to who scored the most penalties without missing, basically, and it's Yaya Toure scored 11 out of 11. So Ivan Toney's on 10 out of 10. So if he can score 2 more, then that'd be an amazing achievement. But yeah, that's the second goal Brentford scored. Do you see what I'm trying to say here? All 3 of Brentford's goals were like the 3 sort of goals you associate with them, one of them being an Ivan Toney penalty. And the third one they scored, I really liked. It was just a long ball forward. Ivan Toney, a brilliant touch to take it down, and then manages to get in front of his man. I can't remember who it was defending for Fulham, but then sprays it out wide, and Kevin Schade does absolutely brilliantly. He came off the bench, and this feels like sort of, I don't know. Well, Schade's got a big job on his hands potentially for if Ivan Toney does, unfortunately get a big ban coming his way. I think Schade's got a job on his hands to help lead the Brentford forward line, and I don't think Brentford are going to be. It's going to be a horrendous drop off if they do lose Ivan Toney. They've showed in one particular game this season that they can play quite well without Toney. Toney's obviously going to make them a better team. He's a superb player and has been for them in the past 2.5, 3 years now. And yeah, that game was the 3-1 win against Liverpool at the start of January. Ivan Toney didn't play that game, and Brentford were unlucky not to score 5 that day. So, you know, they can cope without him. But yeah, Sharda did brilliantly, and it feels like he's sort of arrived for Brentford now. He set up Matthias Jensen, and Jensen managed to squeeze it through Bernd Leno's legs and make it 3-1. And then you felt at that point, yeah, Brentford deserved this. No way back for Fulham. They made a few subs, bringing on Carlos Vinicius, Harry Wilson, and a couple of others. And Vinicius did obviously get a late consolation in the 99th minute. I mean, there's been a couple of late goals this week, haven't there? In the last 10 minutes of games, I do believe that Arsenal scored through Reece Nelson, and obviously Carlos Vinicius, and also half of Liverpool's forward line scored against Man United in the last 10 minutes. So yeah, there've been a few late goals this week in the Premier League. Yeah, and that made it 3-2. I mean, it's a bit of a difficult one for Fulham. It's disappointing for them, but I think it's no less than they. Is it no less or no more than they did? It's no less than they deserve. Yeah, definitely no less. I was trying to figure it out in my head then, what's the right phrase for this. Basically, they got better than what they deserved, if that makes sense. Because they 3-2 was, you know, that was quite fair on Fulham. But yeah, both of these teams are still in the race for a European spot. It'll be interesting to see who gets it. It will be interesting to see who gets a Conference League spot this year, because there are a few teams going for it. There's Brighton, Brentford, Fulham, Newcastle still potentially, even Liverpool if they have a horrendous run of form. Chelsea are still going to go for it. And so yeah, there is a bit of a race for that going on from now until the end of the season. But yeah, this was a really enjoyable game to watch. Brentford are a team I really enjoy watching. And yeah, today was a game where they on another day they could have scored possibly 5, I think. Whereas Fulham, I think you play that game again and Fulham play the way they did, they could possibly score 0. So you know, it's one of them really. It could have ended 5-0, but it ended 3-2. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.